tutorial video. In our previous video, one of our videos, we mentioned or guided us on how you can carry out your post-docking analysis, um, which is trying to find out the pose of your ligand within the pocket of your target or the active site of your target. And secondly, how you can find or discover and investigate the nature of the interaction between the ligand and the pocket or the active site of your target or protein, and of course, the binding affinity. All these were covered in our previous video on post-docking analysis. In this particular video, I'm going to be guiding us on how you can find out or discover the best pose of your protein ligand interaction. Of course, after molecular docking studies, there are several poses or conformations of your ligand within the active site of your target of your protein. For instance, if you docked or performed molecular docking using autodock vena, at the end of the docking studies, about 9 different conformations of your ligand within the pocket or active site of your protein will be generated. All right, so out of this 9, you are only meant to pick just one best pose out of these. All right, so how do you determine the best, uh, protein ligand complex or interaction or pose, all right, to report in your study or to interpret as your result? All right, few steps or few guides uh, are what you're going to be considering, which I'm going to show us at the course of this particular video. They are quite simple to do. However, you need to be informed in order not to make mistakes or get things mixed up. All right, the first thing you do whenever you want to perform um, a computational study or molecular docking study, which is in silico study, trying to discover the drug candidacy of your compound or synthesized compound or synthesized product against a particular target, investigating a therapeutic effect or any form of protein ligand interaction study. So whenever you have such uh, in mind to do, it's necessary that at the end you should be able to find, a best pose, all right, for your particular study, which will inform you make a better choice or a better decision with respect to your study. All right, so the first thing, like I mentioned, you are supposed to do is to study. The first thing is to study the active site of your protein of interest or of your target. Yes, most drug candidacy are targeted at the active site of the protein, except when the drug candidate or when the target has an allosteric effect, which means when your protein has two pockets, all right, one as the active site and the other as the drug binding site or the allosteric site or regulator site, effector or inhibitor site. What it means is that you need to understudy your protein, know the pocket that is targeted in drug development or in therapeutic studies. Yes, this is important because certain proteins might have more than one pocket. An instance is the one I'll be showing us here, which is the COX-2 protein or COX-2 target, usually employed in the study of anti-inflammatory studies, all right, or anti-inflammatory effect of synthesized products or identified compounds. All right, when you're doing that, if you're careful enough, you discover that the same target has two binding pockets. All right, the other, which is the first rate limiting binding step or pocket of that particular target, where drugs are actually targeted, because that's the point that catalyzes the rate determining step, which is the conversion of the arachidonic acid to prostaglandin G or oxidized prostaglandin, which is the first step of the mechanism that leads to inflammation. Of course, we won't go into the details here, But this particular protein has two pockets. The second pocket is the reduction pocket, where after the first reaction at the first pocket, it's moved to the second pocket. So most drug candidacy are targeted at the first pocket in order to inhibit even the second from commencing. So when you have such, the only way you could understand all this I'm saying is when you take time to understudy your protein of interest or your target of interest, have a good knowledge of the active site residues of the protein of interest, not just knowing the names or the different residues involved, but also the duty or functions of those residues within this particular pocket. There are different functions residues play within the active site of pocket of your target. For instance, some residues are there for electron abstraction from an incoming ligand, which initiates electron transfer, all right, within the pocket that leads to catalysis of your substrate or ligand that just came in there and all that. So it will take you to understudy this protein, know the active site residues, the names of the amino acid, especially the key ones, the key active site residues. This is important because every drug or every compound coming into that particular pocket is targeted at one, especially the first key amino acid within that particular pocket. So every incoming ligand or drug candidate is targeted at that particular pocket, and its ability to interact with that particular pocket and that particular key amino acid or residue is what informs how or the potential of such compound as a drug candidate. All right, so number one thing, you need to understudy the protein. You can get the literature or the article for the protein. You can get that at the protein data bank server. You can as well Google search literatures, all right, search studies that involve such protein and see how such were investigated, understudy and understand the active residue, site residue of that particular protein. That is the first thing. This will guide you as well when you are doing site-specific molecular docking, when you tend to target a particular amino acid within your pocket, which is actually the best form of molecular docking studies. You have an amino acid or a residue you are targeting within the pocket, and then why you are targeting that. Of course, that will guide your study or have a direction for your study and not just blind docking. So the first thing I said, you understudy what the protein active site and know what is made of and all that. Then secondly, when you are downloading your protein or your target for your molecular docking study, it is very, very important that you download your protein in either of these two forms. The first form is in its native form, all right, or in its native nature. Most proteins or targets, while uploaded or before being uploaded to the protein data bank, such as the PDB data bank, they are crystallized in different forms. Number one, they could be crystallized in their native form. In their native form means that they have their native substrate or their original substrate bound to them at the cost of the structural elucidation or crystallization, especially using X-ray crystallography, all right, which of course I've covered in one of our videos, how you source your protein and the best, structure of your protein you should download. I guess you should cover that as well if you haven't gone through such video in our channel. All right, so when you are sourcing the protein, make sure you source the protein in either of these two forms. The number one I mentioned is in its native form. In its native form, it will have the original ligand, like I said. This will help you to see or to investigate the native interaction between the ligand or the original substrate of that target and the active site residues of the same target. Of course, this will inform you on what the nature of interaction you are looking out for at the end of your own study. So downloading the native form of your protein or target is important. Then the second one is downloading your protein or target in a co-crystallized form. All right, in a co-crystallized form. In a co-crystallized form means that the target or your protein of interest is crystallized or co-crystallized alongside a drug or an inhibitor, all right, binding to the same protein. So the structure, the 3D structure was elucidated and uploaded to the database alongside a drug or an inhibitor binding to its pocket. All right, so when you source this particular target or protein in this nature, it as well gives you an idea of how inhibitors or drugs interact with this particular protein. It will give you the nature of the active site of the protein. It will as well give you the nature of the residues of the protein interacting with what? With such amino acid residues in the active site. All right, so with these two information, you should be able to know the right protein to source or to download while doing what? While getting your protein source. So these I mentioned is to guide you have an active site study. All right, have what? An active site study. Know how the active site of your protein looks like. All right, where it is, especially for proteins that have more than one pocket, and as well the nature of interaction it makes. The nature of interaction it does what? It makes with its original substrate or ligand, or with any inhibitor or drug that have been co-crystallized with it. All right, all these having been said, we will quickly demonstrate this. As these are going to help us make choice. Remember, we are coming from how do we determine the best pose for our protein ligand interaction, which we are going to use for our study. All right, so having this at the back of your mind, knowing the nature of your active site, the key amino acids, all right, the nature of the interaction with respect to its native amino acid or native ligands or co-crystallized drugs and inhibitor will guide you make these choices. All right, so let's quickly demonstrate this with our previous study, which we demonstrated, post-docking analysis we demonstrated in the previous video. Quickly, we'll go to upload one of that here so that I'll use this and demonstrate to us what I mean. All right, this is a study I just did. We just made use of in our previous video on post-docking analysis. All right, remember how to perform your stepwise procedures on carrying out molecular docking has already been covered in this channel. You just go there, you find out even the stepwise command prompts, all right, you use in order to arrive at or carry out your docking is all or are all explained there. So take time to go look at it. If you can't perform molecular docking at this particular step, you should go back and check that as well. All right, so quickly, why when you're trying to find out the best pose of your ligand within the active site of your protein, the first thing you are supposed to do is number one, get the downloaded protein, which I've mentioned is either the downloaded protein has its native amino acid or an inhibitor or a drug attached to it. So what you do, the first thing you do is to dock the co-crystallized substrate or drug or inhibitor with the same protein. All right. So you are going to, for instance, I downloaded the same protein, and first of all, what I did was I had to what visualize, as you can see. Okay, let me go to that folder so that I can show us a more detail of what I'm trying to display here. So I'll return to my MD work. This is the folder I just finished the post-docking analysis from, but I couldn't choose a best post because I want to cover that at the course of this video. So these, as you can see, are the complexes of my protein and ligand after molecular docking. All right, so you can see that this is the 9 different conformation of the ligand within the active site of the protein after molecular docking using orthodox vena, and these are the complexes. There are 9 of them, I was only able to save two at the course of the tutorial. You can go ahead to save the rest, or rather export the rest and visualize them to be able to have an informed knowledge of what you're doing. All right, so the first thing you do after downloading the protein in the nature we mentioned, which is either with this original substrate or inhibitors and drugs, the first thing you do is to take the 2D diagram of the protein. All right, this is the 2D diagram of the protein. And how do you do that? You simply clean up the protein using your Bovia Discovery Studio or any software of your choice, but I prefer Bovia Discovery Studio. So what I do is that I will download the protein, I'll clean up the protein, remaining the protein or the target and its substrate or drug or inhibitor. All right, that is what I did here. I labeled that as what the protein complex. This is the protein complex. So I simply open the protein complex, all right, and then add, or I can quickly open it here. All right, so this is the protein complex. What did I do? I have to or had to click on the 2D view here to show me the 2D diagram of the protein. This is the 2D diagram of what the downloaded protein and its what substrate. All right, in this case is a drug attached to it, which is naproxen. For some of us that know COX-2, naproxen is a good anti-inflammatory drug, usually co-crystallized with this particular protein. So what do? I will study this particular ligand, this particular 2D interaction. If you don't know what this means, then you should visit our previous video to get that correctly done. All right, so this is few of the key amino acids within the pocket from the study I've carried out on this protein. The first is arginine 120. Arginine 120 is responsible for electron abstraction from an incoming ligand into the pocket, the drug binding pocket of the COX-2. All right, that is what I discovered. And then I also discovered that tyrosine 355 is responsible for electron transfer, all right, at the cost of this particular catalysis of the ligand within this pocket, and many other residues here I won't cover the course of this study. So I've seen that arginine 120 and tyrosine 355, they are very, very important and necessary in the interaction of any ligand coming into this particular pocket. So what I do is I will save off this particular structure, all right, which I've shown us how to do earlier, but we can still save that by going to save as, and then I'll save this as complex, this 2D, all right, so that you know that that's the image I'm saving, and then of course it's going to our MD work. All right, so I will save that. So I've been able to save this out now. So at the end, I will still return to the same folder and perform molecular docking using this particular substrate of it with the same protein again. Even though they came as a co-crystallized structure, I separated the ligand from the protein and intentionally docked them again together, all right, or perform molecular docking again on them. That was what I did here, all right, and we have concluded the docking and carried out the post-docking analysis earlier on in our previous video. As you can see, this is the complexes 1 and 2 from the 9 conformations or complexes obtained after the molecular docking. So what do? I will visualize the complex 1 and 2 and see the nature of the interaction. Did arginine 120 and then tyrosine 355 were they implicated after the molecular docking, all right, of this same ligand with respect to the protein? If that is implicated, then I can say, oh, okay, then these particular residues are quite very, very important. Any other ligand or your synthesized product or identified compounds you are bringing into the same pocket must initiate similar interaction with these key amino acids. If they didn't initiate such interaction, then they are not the right pools or ligand protein interaction for your study. So you have this at the back of your mind. Remember, we are investigating what informs our choice of best pose for our study. So I'll open this complex 1, which I got after docking the ligand, the internal ligand, or the co-crystallized ligand with what? The protein, before I start interacting with what? my external ligands or synthesized product and all that. So I've put it here. I will click on the show 2D. Let me investigate the 2D, of course. All right, so as you can see, this is the same ligand, all right, which I have docked, all right, into the same pocket of that protein, targeting the arginine 120 and tyrosine 355. Of course, you can see that implicated here. All right, this is what the ligand protein interaction. This is the 2D view, revealing the different active site residues here. So as you can see, this is what arginine 120 and this is 355. So it's present in the what? In the first pose. All right, let's check the second pose. I will simply go to file as well. I'll open it and then I'll go to the second pose, which is the second complex. If you don't know how to export these complexes after docking, you should watch our previous video on post-docking analysis. All right, so this is what I have. I'll simply click on show 2D and then I will see again. Of course, you can see in this second one, arginine 120 is here. All right, tyrosine 355 is here. However, tyrosine 355 appears to be in an alkyl form of interaction or association, while the arginine 120 is in what? Is in a conventional hydrogen bond here. All right, so remember, be noting this down because at the end, we are going to make choice out of these particular points we are picking out now. All right, so I have seen that arginine 35, arginine 120, and tyrosine 355, they are necessary for interaction at the cost of catalysis of any ligand coming in here. So when I bring in a new ligand or a synthesized product, this should guide me when I'm making choice of what the best pose I'm supposed to pick at the cost of my interpretation. All right, so I've seen the first and second. Let me import an external compound I now brought in to study the same target. All right, in the case of that, I studied or I interacted quercetin with the same protein. That's, you can see the quercetin folder. So I'll open this folder and then I've been able to carry out the docking. All right, I've been able to carry out the docking. Okay, this is all supported file. Let me put it in all file so that will review. All right, so this will review all the things I have within this pocket or this folder. So this is the quercetin. I've carried out the docking study. The quercetin is now serving as an external ligand or compound. Yours might be your synthesized compound. Yours might be your identified compounds, as the case may be. So this is what I have here. I've carried out the docking studies. And then I've been able to carry out my post-docking analysis by exporting these two complexes, which is the conformation 1 or the pose 1 and then the pose 2, the second pose of the ligand within the active site out of the 9 which I mentioned will be generated if you are docking with autodock what? Vena. All right, so the first complex and the second, I want to choose now between these two now, which one is best for this particular study I'm carrying out. Remember what we have established earlier as the condition that will inform our choice of a good pose. All right, let me open the first one. All right, I'll close this, close the previous one. All right, let me open that again. So I'll go to open and then I will navigate to quercetin. I'll open the first complex. All right, so this is the first complex. And then I'll hit on this view. All right, as you can see, this is the first complex I had. Even though this is the first complex having the first binding energy, as you can see, the interaction of this within the pocket is quite poor. All right, the tyrosine 355 is somewhere here. All right, is somewhere here. The arginine 120 is somewhere here, not making interaction at all. All right. Of course, the tyrosine 385 is also another key residue there, but not the major residues we are targeting at the course of this particular study. All right, so as you can see, this won't form my best, binding pose. I'm not going for this particular first binding pose. So I'll go for another one. I'll keep checking. So I'll close this up. All right, and then I will go again. Okay, let me delete this first complex which I uploaded here. I'll go again and then I'll upload the second complex, all right, and see from the two which one best satisfies my condition. So I'll hit on the 2D to have my view. All right, as you can see, this is the second complex, and this is what the quercetin, this is the structure of quercetin within the pocket. Of course, the quercetin still have, a few other potentials to make interaction here, depending on the poles within the pocket. All right, as you can see, this is the quercetin making interaction with the arginine 120 and then tyrosine 355. Remember, these are the key amino acid or key active site residues from our initial study, all right, from the co-crystallized ligand we studied and the active site study we carried out. These two amino acids are very, very important, and as a result, should form key interaction with any incoming ligand coming in there. So the stronger the interaction, the better. So the first thing you consider here is it making interaction with your key amino acid or your key active site residues? If that condition is satisfied, as seen in this particular one, the second, what nature of interaction is being made here? What nature of interaction is being made here? As you can see, in the first one we viewed, we have a lot of interactions here, all right, indicated by the legend under here. The strongest bond we have here is what the conventional hydrogen bond. All right, so the more conventional hydrogen bond you have in your protein ligand interaction, the stronger the interaction. And the stronger the interaction, the better the pose as a potential choice for your study. So from what we have seen here, I was only able to visualize the first two poles. In your own study, you will need to visualize the 9 different conformations and make sure you're selecting the best out of the 9. So from what we can see, of course, this second pose outweighs the first one, in that number one is interacting with the key amino acid of the active site, which was obtained from our previous study of the active site of the target we're working with. And then secondly, the nature of the interaction is elicited here is quite strong. So as a result, this within the two, I'm going for this. This will form my beta ligand protein interaction for my interpretation in whatsoever study I am doing. All right, so these and many more are what or the conditions that are supposed to be met before any particular protein ligand interaction is chosen as the best pose for your study. All right, because at the course of this, you're supposed to explain in detail, define and discuss in detail why your choice of such pose, why so and so is happening within your interaction. So your ability to pick the ligand making interaction with your key amino acid or your key active site residues, the better for you to be able to explain the outcome of your result. And remember, these key active site residues are also the residues you target in your site-specific molecular docking. If you don't do that, you might end up having your ligand or your compound bound to a different pocket aside the main pocket or the active site, especially when you have more than one pocket present in your target or your protein of interest. So it's very, very important that you take time to do what? To understand your protein, know the key amino acids in the protein, and know their functions as well. If you're targeting them in a site-directed docking, you should have a reason why, which is by knowing what those residues do in the pocket of your protein or your target. When you do that, you as well try to source their PDB formats from the data bank in their co-crystallized form, either with their original substrate in their native form or with their potential inhibitors and drugs in their co-crystallized form. And when you are done with that, make sure you interact these ligands or original substrate with the same protein. Interact them firstly to be able to establish and compare what they have there with the co-crystallized format. If you were able to establish that, that will give a proper guide on the interaction of the keyword amino acid within the word pocket. Then after that, you can bring in your external ligands or synthesized product and all that. And the nature of interaction, the kind of interaction and the strength of it made by your external ligands or your synthesized product should inform or help you have an informed choice for the best pose for your study. Don't just choose any pose out of the nine and report a 2D view that has poor interaction with respect to your key amino acids or key residues. It will make you have difficulties in trying to discuss the outcome of your work. So you have to have these at the back of your mind so that while you are making choices or while you are discussing the outcome of your work, you should be in a better position to do that and do that very correctly, and no hitches or difficulties will be encountered by you at the course of what making your presentation or your publications, as the case may be. Feel free to ask your questions in the comments section of this video, as we are going to attend to that over there. And to see many other videos of us, in molecular docking or varying molecular computational biology studies, do not hesitate to visit our channel. Subscribe there so that whenever a new video is uploaded here, you will be notified, as we do this on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for your time, and see you in our next video.